And a good Tuesday morning, Birds fans. Appreciate you getting up and streaming in early. Appreciate Johnny Mac getting back up and streaming in early with us today. You got Mac and Mac, McMullen and McDonald here with you for the next two. Johnny Mac going hoodie today. I'm guessing maybe he slept in that thing. We'll find out right here. A little late night coming back from South Philly yesterday, John?
Yeah, a little bit of late night. Got locked in the building. Our good friend Rob Motti, got to give him a hat tip. He picked up a bunch of us by the loading dock, so we didn't have to walk 3 miles back to the parking lot. So hat tip to Rob. Yeah, come on, Eagles. What is going on with that place? They literally locked us in the building. There's 15 to 20 reporters.
Right, if you don't want to do night games, okay, fine. But don't schedule.
Yeah, believe me.
When you
I don't want to do them
you gotta expect to be there till late at night, early in the morning.
Exactly.
The schedule says that's what the schedule says.
Stadium operations, you gotta wait until we leave. That's how it works. It's the life you've chosen. We always get that. It's the life we've chosen as reporters, which is true. Got to work on holidays, got to do night games, got to do things like that. That's true. Hey, stadium operations, hangouts, bring, watch a movie on Netflix on your phone, do something. You got to wait.
Yeah, get Mr. Lori on the phone and say, we don't like these night games. Don't schedule them anymore. See what he has to say about that. Well, it was a night game. It actually moved along pretty quickly. You guys must have had good stories to cover and good stuff coming out of the clubhouse because it didn't drag. It moved right along, mostly because of the Philadelphia Eagle defense. You and I exchanged texts yesterday, and you told me, listen, if the Eagles defensive line gets pressure, then they can slow the Dolphin offense down. If they don't, Tua is going to put up 35, 42, whatever else. The Eagle defensive line came to play, Johnny Mac. They did pressure him. Tua is very good at getting the ball out of his hands quickly, but even at that, Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat off the edges were in his face and making plays not only against the pass, but against the run. Reddick was great against the run, just completely shut down the Dolphin running game to start the game last night. To use your phrase, hat tip. The Eagles defensive line made you hat tip last night. They were stone cold dominant.
Yeah, I mean that group. We go back to Bucky Brooks. I keep giving him credit in the offseason, saying it was the best position group in the NFL. It is. It's incredibly talented, incredibly deep. And I was saying it all week because I got a lot. Maybe it's because it's Halloween season. I got a lot of Eagles fans who were terrified. Mike Missinelli said it on the postgame show. He was terrified. And, I put up in the pregame warmups, I said, well, it's going to be Edmonds and Sidney Brown at safety, Josiah Scott in the slot. And people, every single comment was, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I've been saying it all week. If you can't block people, you can't play offense in this league. And they could not block the Eagles front. And that, now I get the other end. Oh, Eli Ricks is playing well. What a great job by Sidney Brown. Hey, they couldn't deal with Tyreek Hill. Nobody can deal with Tyreek Hill, but they didn't have time to get him the football consistently. There's the one drop, but, I mean, their defense is built on that front. And when that front plays up to their capabilities, I've yet to see anybody who can block them. And blocking the Denver Broncos all week doesn't impress me. Blocking the New York Giants doesn't impress me. Blocking the Carolina Panthers doesn't impress me. And the Dolphins aren't. They're a good team. I don't want to say they're a good team because now you have self-hating Eagles fans saying, oh, the Dolphins aren't that good. No, they're very good. They're not at the Eagles standard. And I said all week, this is more of a statement game for the Dolphins than the Eagles. We know the Eagles are good. We don't know where the Dolphins are. We know they're kind of good, but they got beat by 4 touchdowns in Buffalo. Now they got waxed in Philadelphia. They're going to beat the bad teams, and they got to prove they can beat a good team. And that's for them going down the road. But the Eagles, I mean, their outlier was the Jets. Look, they blew that game. They should have won that game. They should be 7-0. And we talk about style points every week, and I'm sure we'll talk about them again here. There's plenty of stuff that they got to get better at, but offensive, defensive front, I say it every week. Now, Lane was back on the offensive line, so all the issues were shut down there. Although
except Lane did get beat for his first sack in forever, and Jalen caught the football up, so he wasn't 100%. It's great to have him back. The record is what it is. When Lane Johnson's in the game, the Philadelphia Eagles win, and that's more important than anything else. But he wasn't 100%.
Well, it was always going to happen. He had to give up a sack at some point. He gave it up, and that's fine. But it's a lot better than Jack Driscoll out there. So, yeah, I mean, they, we talked about it all week. 500 yards, 37 points a game. They gave up 10 stinking points to that team offensively because one was a pick six, and I think 244 was the final total yards. I mean, and that's with, people are talking, and the Dolphins had some injuries, both their corners, Xavier Howard wasn't able to play. Connor Williams, they don't have a good offensive line to begin with. Teron Armstead's been hurt for a while. Connor Williams was out. But, I mean, the Eagles are down to their freaking 17th slot corner and the 17th safety pairing. I mean, you persevere in this league or you don't. And, yeah, I was not impressed by the Dolphins. Now, Tua can sling it when he gets time. Tremendously accurate. I can't say enough good things about Tyreek Hill. He is an unbelievable football player. But other than that, yeah, their vaunted running game, nothing from Raheem Mostert until later in the game. Kind of garbage. And Mike McDaniel.
That wasn't garbage time. The game was still, that was a one-score game. And
by the way,
he had 2 carries for 25 yards, John. Man. You know what I'll do? I'll second-guess the Dolphin play calling. They run 2 consecutive plays. Oh, you did
second-guess the greatest play caller in the history of the world.
Sure as hell I can. You had two consecutive runs for like 25 yards, and then they go away from running on the edge. They go back to running inside with their backup running back. What the hell were you thinking there, McDaniels?
By the way, I think Nick Sirianni wanted to prove a point because Mike McDaniel's getting all the flowers, and Nick's like, what have I built? And I think he would never admit it, but he wanted to show people, because I still get it. Well, the Dolphins are so inventive. All right, they run the motion, they run the eye wash, they run that. They're great against bad teams. It probably looks better, but I'd rather have the guys who block and the guys who rush. Now, the Dolphins' defensive front is pretty good. Their offensive line, though, they got some issues there. But they're a good team. They're not a great team. And the Eagles kind of proved that.
And Eagles did get a helping hand. And again, this is something you deal with in the National Football League, same as injuries. On a given day, the flags may fly against you or the flags may fly in your favor. And last night, and part of this is the whole, what did you just call it, eye washed or motion on every single play, 2 guys heading in the same direction. When it works, it's great. It catches the other team off guard and confuses the team. But every once in a while, it lends itself to someone moving too early or taking a quick step. And, here comes the flag, back up 5 yards, illegal motion, false start. They had a whole bunch of those last night, which is self-inflicted because you want to run this high-fangled offense where you're trying to confuse the other team. Yeah, there's going to be a price to pay. Eagles got a major break in the game. James Bradbury grabbing Cedric Wilson's face mask down the sideline in a blatant pass interference. The fact that they didn't throw the flag on that one gave the Eagles a big break. Now, the Eagles were the better team. I don't think the flags decided it. If it was called 50-50, Dolphins win. No, they don't. The Eagles were the better team. They were going to win. They deserved to win. But that was a pretty key juncture of the game. Still only a 7-point game that sets them up in their own red zone. Eagles got a break on that non-call, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you grab somebody's face mask, in the open field especially, yeah, it should be caught. But I don't complain about officials. I just don't, because there's nothing. I've heard it from coaches a million times over the years. Control what you can control, and you sure as hell can't control officials. So, sometimes you get bad calls, sometimes you get calls that help you. And you either, again, I'll use that word, you either persevere or you don't. I mean, it's baked in. You're going to get screwed at times in this league. They're human beings. It happens to everybody. It happens to every team every year. And good teams tend, I always say Michael Jordan rules back in the day. Michael used to get some calls, Good teams get more calls than bad teams because they have a reputation of getting, and how do you get over that hump to be a good team? The Eagles are over that hump, and they probably get more breaks. And the Eagles fans are going to want like this. They probably get more breaks than they don't, if you know what I'm saying, because they're a good team and they have a reputation for being a good team. And I always tell the story about Reggie White, and it's apropos because, Reggie's son was the honorary captain, the Kelly Green, all that stuff. When I covered the Vikings, there was this right tackle named Tim Irwin, who later became an NFL agent, pretty successful NFL agent. He played for like 17 years. He played forever. Very good player. He used to handle Reggie White. And you know why? Because he had this reputation for like 14, 15, and that's just a good player. And they didn't throw flags on him. And he would just hold on for dear life. And they could have called 10 holding calls a week on him every time they played the Packers. And, then they drafted Corey Stringers, another was a great player, tragic incident. I always say my worst day in the NFL covering a team, but he was a really good player. And Reggie ate him for lunch because he was a rookie and they didn't give him. Now he learned from it and became a very good player. But yeah, reputation matters. And the Eagles have a big reputation, and deservedly so. But yeah, I never complain about officiating. Now the Eagles didn't get called for a penalty, I believe. So
yeah,
they
get 10. The Eagles get 9. That's a little lopsided. You're not going to see that every week in the NFL.
Well, there's this NFL rep stats, and they send me stuff every week because they compile. And this is before the game. They compile different crews and their trends. So they do it like coaches would. People have trends. And Brad Allen was the official, said, and I quote, "A good home field ref, particularly as it pertains to fourth quarter penalties, which can be key in close games." So, he'll be on the home field somewhere next week, and that team will probably have the advantage. So
the refs send it out.
And no.
Who sends it out?
It's a site that follows the trends of what officials call.
Because you don't want to be known as a home field ref. Where the game is played, if it's played on the moon, it's not supposed to affect the game.
You only don't want to be known as a home field ref if the league cares about it, and if the league thinks you're being unfair, and they don't give a shit. So I don't think Brad Allen gives a crap. But there's no doubt that different crews call different things. There's crews that call less penalties. There's crews that call more penalties. That's why this site exists. Allen, the rep, number 2 most defensive pass interference penalties on the road in 2023. This is the kind of stuff they do. He's number 5 calling defensive pass interference. Just 32% of the penalties on the home team in fourth quarter of games. So, Everybody breaks down everything, including officials. And the
And
Eagles
again,
probably got a break. But by
the
no
key,
means were the Dolphins going to win that game if the penalties were 5-5.
exactly. It didn't have an indirect outcome on the game. Yeah, I do believe because of that one penalty. Forget the 10-0. Because there are games where a team commits 10 penalty and the other team commits none. Can't just make a penalty
Not
so at
too
the end of
many
the game
teams.
you're 7-5 and it's kind of close. No,
I
you gotta
will
call what you
admit,
see.
I will admit, there's not too many NFL games where you have no penalties.
10 penalties on one team and none on the other. That doesn't happen very often. And the only one I would even note would be the Bradbury pass interference penalty because it was at a key juncture of the game. And to me, it wasn't even debatable. It was blatant and it was obvious. That's the only penalty that comes into question. Eagles are the better team on defense. Eagles are a better team on offense. I'll even give them the nod on special teams with that Boston Scott kickoff return. Although Berrios was good too. We actually saw a kickoff return. Johnny Mack, an NFL game with kickoff returns.
Yeah. Well, it's
not
getting
just
to
a
that
touchback every single time.
It's getting to that time of year. It was windy and going the north end of the field. They couldn't get it. Either team couldn't get it in the end zone. So you're going to start seeing more kickoff returns in outdoor games, although it's supposed to get back to 80, but it was pretty chilly last night and the wind was not awful, but yeah, they could not kick the ball in the end zone that way. Either team.
One quick question for you. We got our first guest up. Brandon Lee Gatton from Bleeding Green Nation is going to join us. Everybody seemed to hint on it. What I saw in the post-game stuff, it was hinted at, but nobody gave details. Jalen Hurts' wheel was off last night.
Yeah.
Supposedly wearing a brace. I guess it's his knee. You really saw it on a couple of runs where he just wasn't running like Jalen. I'm not even talking about sliding or giving himself up or going down in the backfield. I'm talking about he's broken containment. He's turning upfield. He's making yards. And he's just not moving the same as he usually does, not as fast as he usually does. What's the deal? Any details you have on his knee?
Did you hear Nick answer the question? He was feeling yeah. Here's how we answered the question. Rob Motti, by the way, again, he asked the question. Rob, I know you're not here every day with the local media. I'm probably not giving you that information. We'll see. Got to talk to the trainers, talk to Jalen. We'll get him in tomorrow. John, that's me, is going to ask me tomorrow. Elliot Short Parks will ask me tomorrow, how is Jalen? I'm going to say, I got to see him a little bit more. I'll let you know Wednesday. Wednesday is going to come. It's going to be before practice. They're going to ask me again, and I'm going to say, I've got to see how it's looking out there, and I will get you some more information on Friday. Friday, we'll see if he's on the injury report or not. When Friday comes, they're going to ask, what do you think? What's going to happen here? I'll say, you'll get the injury report later in the day. I just string them along.
That's funny.
Man,
absolutely.
He laid out the whole week, and that's how it's going to go. But he's banged up. He got hurt in Los Angeles, and he didn't get hurt in the game. He was limping around NovaCare last week a little bit, but he plays through it. Is he 100%? No. He made that big extending the play for A.J. Brown, 32 yards down to the 1 yard line. But yeah, he's probably going to be limited for a while, and we'll see if it's more serious. Probably not till Friday, but we'll see if it's more serious than that. I go back to Chicago last year. He got hurt in that game, played through it, and that was the shoulder injury where he ultimately missed 2 games. And he did the post-game press conference. He acted like he wasn't hurt, and he was. So he admitted he was wearing a brace, and he said, I hope not. And when he was asked, is it going to affect you? You never know, but I don't think it's terribly serious, but it's certainly affecting him.
And both his coach and his star wide receiver took his back last night and said the guy's just stone cold tough. And he is. If you need any more of an example, the Eagles converted a couple really big cheek sneak, tush push, brotherly shove, call it what you want.
4 for 4 on the
yeah, pretty damn good. And that's Jalen on a bum knee getting that first down every single time. I give some credit. I thought Goddard actually did more on the actual pushing of the tushing last night than he usually does. He actually,
they might have had to do a little bit more.
yeah,
He doesn't have
they
that
needed that assist from
600-pound
behind, and it was
squats,
there.
power.
And it worked. So give Jalen credit, a ton of credit for playing through what may very well be a pretty painful injury that we'll not find out more details about as the coach designates.
And I'm not asking today, Nick. Why ask? Why
well,
waste?
Maybe
why
we'll get
burn a
Brandon
question?
Lee Gouton to ask him for you. He'll pick up the slack for you, Johnny Mac.
We're
going to ask Brandon Lee Gouton plenty. He's going to join us next. BLG from BGN, Bleeding Green Nation. Guest 1 to start the week off right with us here on Birds 365.